Hi there, this is Ajit Navlaka, and in this video we are talking about how to be a successful mindset coach. Now before we get into how to be a successful mindset coach, let's just build a common understanding what a mindset coach really is and what do they do. Firstly, a mindset coach is somebody who's working with the mindset of an individual, which mostly relates to people's patterns, mindset patterns, or their beliefs, and to turn those patterns and beliefs into a growth mindset. If you don't know what a growth mindset or fixed mindset is, it is a concept delivered by Carol Dweck in her book Mindset, where she talks about how individuals tend to have fixed mindset in their life, where they tend to do the same thing again and again and again and feel like there's no other way to do those things but those things, versus people who find more success in their life who tend to have something that she calls growth mindset, which means they're always curious about what else and what next and what different can happen and so on and so forth. So what we're really doing as a mindset coach is we are taking these fixed mindset patterns and beliefs and behaviors and trying to turn them into a growth mindset orientation. When you have a growth mindset in any area of your life, you tend to see growth in that area of life because you're curious, you're interested, you feel like there's a chance of growth. Otherwise, in a fixed mindset, you feel like life's just going to be same, right? So what you're doing as a mindset is creating this transition from fixed mindset to growth mindset, from the patterns and behaviors and beliefs that have been installed in you forever and ever and ever, to somebody who's curious and interested in creating new patterns, new beliefs, and new behaviors in their life. So there are 3 steps to becoming a mindset coach. The step 1 is to understand how beliefs and behaviors are actually created. How are these patterns really getting created in our life? You see, patterns and behaviors and beliefs that we follow every day in our life are a function of our past experiences. This simply means that there might be an event in your life, there might be a circumstance that may have happened in your life, there might be an instance in your life where you had an experience and then you made up a story about that experience and that created your new belief. Say, for example, you had an experience in your life where you went on stage and you didn't get an applaud. For that matter, you got booed on stage, right? Now that experience may give you a pattern or belief that you are bad at public speaking. And because you now have that pattern, that belief, that behavior in you, every single time that you get an opportunity to speak, even in front of a small group or in front of your colleagues, you may feel anxiety, you may feel fear, you may start believing that you're not good at public speaking. And because of that, now you consistently tend to feel like that you cannot be a public speaker, or you cannot make a presentation, or you can't make a presentation even in front of your colleagues, even in front of your family, because of that one experience that happened in the past. The first most common way of us to build behaviors, patterns, and beliefs is experiences of the past and the story we associated to that experience of the past. It also is true for anything that is positive. So say, for example, there was a point you spoke on stage when you were 5 years old and you got a great standing ovation and you were like, oh my God, I am such a performer. And then it got re-established again and again for several times as you kept speaking on stage and people started cheering you on. What may happen is as that experience got compounded over time and the experience got embodied in your beliefs, you may just feel it's natural for people to go up on stage and speak on stage and absolutely crush it. Right? So either good or bad experience, either good patterns or bad patterns, either patterns that empower you or not empower you, either the behaviors that are good or bad for you, they're all instilled in us because it's experience that we have had in the past. That is the job of our mind. That is the job of our brain, to take all the experiences of life and translate them into daily behaviors. The second way that you instill a behavior in yourself or an attitude or a pattern in your life or a belief in your life is through self-talk. So it's not only that an experience creates an outcome. Based on the experience that you had in life, you may start talking to yourself in a particular way. Say, for example, if we were to take the example of public speaking, you may take the example of public speaking where it didn't work out and start talking to yourself, you're terrible at talking about this stuff. You're terrible to be in front of people. You're terrible. You shouldn't be talking to people. I did this experiment, this test that was online called a Myers-Briggs test, and they said I'm an introvert and I can't really talk to people. I shouldn't be talking to people. And your self-talk now is creating this pattern in your mind because you're just telling yourself that why you cannot be a good speaker. And you're doing it again and again and again. So what happens is, even if that was a small event that should have been inconsequential in your life because of reasons around it, this becomes the story of your life. So while, yes, experiences can build stories, the repetition of the story or self-talk that we do to ourselves is what also builds even deeper or deep-seated behaviors and beliefs in our life. So we must understand that our behaviors, our mindset, our current mindset, fixed mindset, is a function of how we experience something in the past and what is the self-talk that we had after that experience, or generally in life based on what may be data that was presented to us in life. So you might go, all right, that seems like a lot of programming, Ajay. That seems like that's my identity now. That's just who I am because I've been like this for 40 years of my life because that experience happened when I was 2 years old or whatever the thing is. You might go, how do I change that? There's no way I could be changing a 40-year programming. Well, that's exactly where a mindset coach comes in. This is exactly where you work with somebody who knows how to rewire a bad programming and move you from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. Now, becoming a really good mindset coach requires mastery of human psychology, around spirituality, around how your behavior pattern changes are. But I'm going to give you some highlights that you can do, 3 very simple things that you can do to be able to create effective mindset shifts in your client's life. Step 1 is to help your clients get emotional mastery. You see, in every moment, through every event in our life, through every repetition of self-talk, we generate emotions, right? If you are constantly feeling like you can't be in front of people, or you can't present, or you can't sell, or whatever's the story that you tell yourself, every time you tell that story to yourself, there's an emotion that's getting triggered. There's a feeling that gets triggered. Most likely, that emotion in the circumstance where you don't feel good enough to do something is of anxiety, is of fear, is of concern towards yourself. It could be about you beating down yourself and saying you're not good enough to do this kind of work. And all of those emotions, when compounded over time, keeps building on your self-talk. So the first thing that you want to do is work with your clients on their emotional mastery, which is how is it that they regulate their emotions? If you're feeling fear, what is it that you do to regulate that emotion? If you're feeling anxiety, how do you regulate anxiety? How do you regulate sadness or concern or lack of confidence? All of these emotions, all of these feelings, as they happen in your body, in your biology, in your psychology, you show your clients how to regulate these emotions. And as they get emotional mastery on themselves, they're able to take events without the emotion of the event. So next time they're about to go on stage or talk to people, they don't simply go, I'm feeling anxious. They're able to regulate their anxiety and then just simply do the thing that they were going to do, which is talk to people. And when you take out the emotion from the instance, it makes it easier for the person to actually do the act. And that becomes the first step, is to help your clients gain emotional mastery on themselves in the moments as they happen. So it's not something that you do once and then it's done. You have to keep doing it. They need to be able to process emotions all the time because emotions are not going to wait for one day. They're going to keep happening, right? The second thing that you want to do is once you've helped them regulate their emotions and come to a neutral, rational place, is where you want to invite them to choose a more empowered thinking. What does that mean? When an event happens in life, when a circumstance happens, when a response or an outcome happens to an event that happens in life, there is a thought that is generated. And because of that thought, we choose our thinking pattern as a follower. Say, for example, you went on stage, you spoke on stage, right? That's the event that happened. Now, as an event, let's assume that it didn't go well, right? Let's say you didn't get a standing ovation or whatever you were looking for. So as that event happens, the thought came, the speaking didn't go well, or speaking on stage didn't go well, right? Now that is just the thought. It doesn't have any emotion to it yet. It doesn't even have any thinking pattern to it. It's a matter of fact. A matter of fact is that the expectation of you presenting on stage wasn't met. That's really the matter of fact. It is not even if it went well or didn't go well. It's mostly whatever was your expectation wasn't fulfilled, right? And that's really what it is. It's a matter of fact. Now, from this matter of fact, there are many ways you could choose to think about it. But I'll give you just 2 so you can see how that diversity of thinking can change everything in life. One way of thinking about you didn't meet your expectation is, I'm a bad public speaker, which is probably what happens with most of the people, and hence they tend to believe that they are not good public speakers. The second way of thinking is, how can I become a better public speaker? What is it that I could have done better this time so I could have been a better public speaker? Today, I feel comfortable actually sharing a personal growth story for myself as a coach even, where recently I was presenting at stage at one of the events. And traditionally, I've tried to speak at that stage before, and I performed very poorly through the scoring and ratings of the speakers that we got, right? I was among the bottom 5 speakers at an event, which is a terrible place to be, or felt like a terrible place to be. But at that time, I didn't ask myself the question of, oh crap, I'm a terrible speaker, I shouldn't be speaking on stages. Instead, I said, I need to master how to speak on stages. What is it that I can do better? And so I started speaking more with smaller and smaller audiences, with 5 people, 10 people, 15 people, because I could regulate what was happening in 5 or 10 people. I could regulate what I could learn. I could regulate if something that I said lands well or doesn't land well. And because of that, I was able to see my progress, where today I am among the top 5 speakers at that event. That happened just like last weekend. And the reason why I'm sharing that story with you is so you can see how changing your thinking based on what may have happened can change the complete outcome that you are experiencing in life. So choosing a more empowered thinking in a matter of months or matter of years can completely change your life and shift you from fixed mindset to growth mindset. And then lastly is to change behaviors, and to change somebody's mindset is to give them new habits. What happens is whenever we are having a challenging time in life is we lean into our default habits. You might have observed that if you've had a tough day, there's a particular thing that you do at the end of the day. A lot of people lean on to food because of it, or Netflix because of it. You've had a hard day and something didn't work out the way, you have a stack of a particular kind of ice cream and you go for it straight away, right? That's you leaning into your default habit. Now, of course, this default habit of you going back to your ice cream box is not helpful, because you end up eating ice cream, which is of course sugar. You're eating sugar, your health gets hurt, you know the drill. And that is why you don't want to fall back to your default habits. When you work with your clients and you try to give them new habits, they have to be small incremental habits, habits that they can naturally flow into and be mindful of when they're about to fall into a really bad one. If your clients tend to fall back to that big box of ice cream as soon as they feel or experience a bad day, maybe the first step would be to say, hey, what if we replace the big box of ice cream with small boxes of ice cream? And then you choose one box, and then maybe we change the ice cream to a healthier ice cream, and then we turn it to a fruit. And soon enough, you'll find that your client's behavior moved from a big box of ice cream to a small fruit. And that small behavioral change, that small habit change of leaning into their default mode shifts. And that switches them from being fixed mindset oriented and saying, I need the box of ice cream, to something that is better for them. And that continues as a progress, because those small incremental changes that you will bring into their lives will shift their energy and bring them into growth mindset. Which brings me to the last element that is important for you to note as a mindset coach. It is one of the most difficult things to do, but at the same point in time, without this, no true mindset shift really happens. People believe that they can work with a mindset coach and their mindset will shift. And that, yes, happens, but it doesn't shift you permanently. It doesn't shift you for a long period of time. You see, whatever is your current identity, whatever is your current understanding of yourself is something that is built over decades. It took years and years of you thinking of a circumstance in a particular way, you talking to yourself in a particular way, you behaving in a particular way, you were having that pattern in a particular way. While change is fast, it is not that fast that 30 years, 40 years of programming can be switched around in 4 days. It takes time, effort, and energy. It takes several days, sometimes several months, sometimes even several years for you to have a complete identity shift, for you to be able to accept an identity that finally feels most congruent to you as a human being. We are evolving human beings. We are always growing. Our brains are always growing. Our body cells are always growing. The body cells are dying all the time and recreating themselves all the time, which means we can change all the time. We are changing by default, by biology, all the time. What tends to happen, even when our biology and our brains are changing biologically, is that there's a lot of story that gets transferred over every time a new cell is generated, right? So if our brain is changing all the time and expanding all the time, here's what's happening. Let's say a part of brain is kind of getting, decomposed and a new part is developing on the top of it. It's just passing the story back into the new part of your brain, new connections of your brain. So what you're really looking for is, while that transition is happening in your brain, how can we keep rewiring our neurons in a way that builds new behaviors and new patterns and new habits in our lives, so we can continue to become the more evolved version of ourselves, more congruent, more authentic version of ourselves, the more true nature of ourselves. And because of that, you need to follow through. You need to have consistency in mindset coaching. You need to follow through till the time you're fully satisfied. You've seen your behavior change, not over 4 or 5 days, but over 60 days, over 90 days, over 100 days. Recent study finds that if you want to really change a behavior, it takes anywhere between 7 days to 63 days, I believe, to be able to completely transform a behavior, to have a new mindset altogether. So invest that energy with your client. Let your client know that while they may think they have changed in the first 4 hours of your work with them, real change is about consistency. It's about knowing that 6 years later, you would have had that new behavior. So take the time to build consistency into your mindset coaching. It's not a one-time activity. It's a consistent activity that you need to do with your clients so they can create the results that they want to create in their lives. So we talked about 3 key things in this video. Firstly, we talked about how mindset is created. Then we talked about how to change your mindset. And lastly, we talked about what keeps a new mindset, right? Now that you know all 3 steps, what is it that you feel is the most challenging for you? Let me know in the comment section below so I can see what is it that is really stopping you and create future videos that might help you in creating those outcomes or creating that change in your own life. One of the great ways to stay in growth mindset is to study material from other teachers and trainers and educators in your life. We do that at evercoach.com. I invite you to go check us out and see if we have something for you that can help you be in more growth mindset. Now that you know how to be a mindset coach, now that you know how to be a successful mind coach, I would love for you to change your mindset and hit that like button. When you like something, hit the like button. It's pretty easy and you should do it. Secondly, if you haven't for some reason subscribed to our channel yet, please go ahead and hit that red subscribe button, hit that bell icon so we can send you a notification every single time we post a new video. We love sharing these messages with you. We love reading your comments. We love that you're a part of our tribe. Thank you so much for watching. This is Ajit Navlakar, and you're watching this on EverCoach.